Hello, everyone. So glad everyone has joined us today. This is our last AMA for the application cycle for the early stage MassChallenge programs of 2021. So welcome. My name is Ren Mitchell. I am head of programs and operations for the Texas program. So we have one in Houston and also in Austin, and I will be your moderator today. Super happy to be here and excited to talk all things MassChallenge. Let's see if we can advance the slide. There we go. Awesome. So I also, before we get started, want to introduce you to Maria Forney. So she is the Global Head of Business Development for Oracle Startups. She'll be speaking today about an upcoming opportunity that might also be of interest. So
Hello.
Maria, welcome.
Hello. Thank you and welcome everyone. My name is Maria Forney and I am just delighted to be here. I'm zooming in from my home here in the San Francisco area where, as Ren said, I lead the business development team. I also lead the customer experience team with Oracle for Startups, and it is an honor to partner with MassChallenge and to share with you just a couple of things about how we work with founders and entrepreneurs such as yourselves, and a few things to consider as you're evaluating programs, tools, resources, and the people that have the expertise to help take your idea, to work with you to take your idea and your vision and bring it to fruition. Now, Oracle has had a program for startups in existence for over 5 years. We've already worked with thousands of founders and entrepreneurs to help them scale their business. Like a lot of other cloud providers, we do offer free technology, and we have a special offer for you here today, as you can see on the slide. And we think this is quite compelling because what we hear from founders is they appreciate the opportunity at the outset to build their company on the most scalable, robust, high-performing, secure infrastructure that is out there today. So that's something I encourage you to take advantage of. What we also hear from founders that they love about working with us is the opportunity to have a business development leader that partners directly with them, as well as access to a whole team of cloud architects that will assist you with any technical challenges that come up, and the mentor matching that we offer. So we have hundreds of individuals at Oracle in all corners of the globe in varying areas of expertise, whether it's HR, legal, sales, product development. They love working with founders such as yourself. So that's another wonderful opportunity when you partner with Oracle. We also have a marketing team that works tirelessly to help amplify your message in the marketplace. And if you go to oracle.com/startup, you can read all about them. These are companies like Aptivio and AgroScout and OceanWorks that are just like you. They're out there tackling problems and using our technology to get there. And the crown jewel of our program, in addition to marketing, is the opportunity to get in front of some of Oracle's 400,000 customers. So, we've been around for some time. We have enterprise accounts in all industries, and they come to us and they're looking to meet with startups. We also get our startups in front of Oracle's product development team. They're always looking for ways to find technologies to help us deliver more value to customers. So this is the offer that we have for those of you that are attending today. It's good till the end of the month. We hope you will consider it. And, at the end of the day, and I think what you'll hear today from the 2020 winners about how they navigated the MassChallenge program in its virtual form, is it really is about people. And I said this at the start, this is why I love working with MassChallenge. You'll have access to the most experienced, dedicated individuals that will help you succeed. And that's also what you get when you partner with Oracle. It's a very personalized approach, and we believe strongly in focusing on those relationships. So please consider working with us. And with that, Ren, I will pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's all about the people. Here's another slide of some additional partners that we work with throughout the year. And if that offer from Oracle is any indication, we love giving deals and discounts to our startups. Maybe some of our alumni will have a chance to chat about that later, but here again, here's a snapshot of some of the organizations and companies we work with on an annual basis. We want to give our startups the best attention and the best access to these partners that we can. And so take a quick look, and again, maybe we can talk about some of these partnerships as we move into the Q&A portion later today. So before we get started there, I do want to give everyone who's maybe new to MassChallenge a quick overview. And I know several of you have joined in the last few minutes. So just reintroducing myself, I'm Ren Mitchell. I am the head of programs and operation for Texas, which is both in Austin and in Houston. And then we have two other early stage programs in Rhode Island and also in Boston. So our applications are open right now. Hopefully that's why you're here. So again, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about MassChallenge and giving you an overview of our upcoming 2021 programs. Here is a quick snapshot of what we've been up to, and then also how it works. What we've really fine-tuned over the last several years is kind of an evidence-based approach. And so we have a proven methodology that has a focus on goal setting, curated experts, and peer network. And so again, we're going to try to hit on a few of these things when we talk to our alumni, but these are the pillars of the MassChallenge program and what we want to focus on to give you the best chance to accelerate your company. There are several benefits to our program, and you can see a list here. So obviously we have live seminars and workshops. We give you access to a digital curriculum. So even if you're not available to make a live session, we have a library of things you can peruse and even invite your team to look at. We have focused industry tracks, which we will talk about in a few minutes. We have a corporate partner network. We showed you some of those partners. You heard from Oracle already. We have a lot of in-kind deals and resources that are super valuable to this stage in your in building a business. We have also equity-free cash prizes. So there is a competition toward the end of the program where you pitch for these prizes, and then office space. Of course, quotations maybe with 2020 and the pandemic, different locations are following different protocols, but we're hoping to open offices in the fall. So more to come on that as things change with the pandemic. But we are always have open door policy. I told the alumni panel earlier, in Houston, our doors are always open. We always will have a landing spot if you're in a city that MassChallenge is in. So moving on to the industry tracks that we're going to offer in 2021. This is really exciting because it gives us like really hyper focus on businesses that are solving some really major problems. So mobility is up, and it's really exciting because there's so many challenges around that. It's powered by Motional. We're bringing back space commercialization. We've partnered with NASA. And that's also really exciting with all the things that are happening with going to Mars and technology opening the doors for that. We also have a safety and security track, which we have several partners in the Air Force, MITRE, and BAE Systems, Raytheon, and the NSIN. We are also bringing back sports tech this year, powered by Stadia Ventures. Really exciting, a lot of really cool innovations happening there. And then we have the Enterprise Technology Fellowship powered by KPMG. So again, here's a snapshot of some of the things we've done with our partners. And this is available to all of our startups. And so you don't have to apply to a specific program. You get into the early stage program, and then you can have access to this, some specialized curriculum, but also access to some of these communities. As I mentioned before, we're in 4 different physical locations, even though this year will be 90+% virtual. And so we are in Austin, Houston, Boston, and Providence, Rhode Island. This is where we have office space. This is where we have access points to these local and regional ecosystems. And of course, each location also has specializations in certain industries. So there might be one of the reasons why you are leaning toward one location or the other. So again, this year is virtual. And we will have a shared resource bank, shared curriculum, speakers, mentors, things like that. But there's also local teams on the ground that can help you access some of those locations. Applicants are welcome to apply to one location or to all. In the application process, you will prioritize which city or which program you maybe have an affinity towards. If you're neutral about the location, I would encourage you to apply to all four because as the ranking happens and as the scoring comes in, you'll have more options to get placed, especially this year, again, when there's no residency requirement and you're not expected to be physically in a location. But if you have any other questions specifically about any of the locations, please let us know at the end. Drop a question in the Q&A, and we can follow up afterwards as well. When considering a location, think about the local economy if you want to get connected into that ecosystem. There are certain industries that are thriving in each of these four locations. Obviously, there's an investor pool in each of these locations that might be of a specific industry or leaning toward a specific goal. And then we all have different strategic partners as well. So the strength of being part of a local location is, we can help network, we can help generate the camaraderie amongst our own cohorts, and we each have kind of a special vibe, I think. But this year will be fun because we'll have more access to all other locations as well. So again, if you have any questions about that, throw it in the Q&A and I can come back to it towards the end of our session. A quick overview of the timeline. So applications are open now. They are about to close. So if you're thinking, should I, shouldn't I, should I? You should. You get it in as soon as possible. They will close March 31st at the end of this month. And then we open round one judging. So we have multiple people looking at all of our applications. So they're, to make sure there's no bias. And then once a selection of those goes through to the next round, which is our round two, normally this would be in person, but will be online. And this is the pitch to a panel of judges to get into the cohort. Finalists are announced in June. The Accelerator starts that very last week of June, goes through September, which is when the next round of judging happens to determine who's eligible for the cash prizes. And then the awards ceremony, when we announce all the winners, happens late in October. It sounds fast because it is. It's fast and furious. It's called an accelerator for a reason. We pack a lot of punch in those 4 months, and I can't wait to talk to the alumni about their experience. But if you have any other questions, there is an FAQ section on our website, which goes into detail about any of this and all of this. So please consult the website. The tag is right there on the screen. And there are exact dates, more information about cash prizes, fundraising support, things like that. So please check there if you have any additional questions. Here is kind of a quick overview about eligibility. This is important if you're considering applying to MassChallenge. We're open to all founders building businesses in all industries. So we consider ourselves industry agnostic, and you can be located anywhere, which is fun. Just a quick anecdote, we were in the Houston program last year. We had 56 companies, and our cohort was sitting in 13 different countries during the program. So we don't want geography to be a barrier whatsoever. The only qualification or requirement is that you have raised less than $1 million in equity-based investment and have less than 2 million in revenue sales. So those are our only two caps. Other than that, please apply. Nonprofit, for-profit, we want to see a wide range of companies because that's what makes a stronger cohort. And again, you'll have access to the other founders as well, which makes it kind of building on this peer network support even more exciting. And for those that want to get involved, we also are always looking for experts. So if you already have a mentor, someone that you think has been really beneficial to your growth, please have them apply. We, are always building our ecosystem and always excited to continue to build our MassChallenge family. So now, the fun part, we're going to get to some of our 2020 featured winners, and I am going to have them turn on their cameras and ask them to introduce themselves we'll just go left to right from the screen. Super excited to have them here. It's easy for me to talk about MassChallenge, but I think it's more beneficial for you to hear from them about their experience. So, Laura, I'm going to have you kick it off.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ren. So it's nice to virtually meet everyone here. I am really excited to discuss MassChallenge. First, I'll say my name is Samlara Ban. I am presently in Accra, Ghana, where my venture is based. My venture, LuWorks, has this bold idea of ending preventable diarrheal diseases caused by poor sanitation in marginalized communities in Ghana by manufacturing toilet systems using construction materials made from recycled plastic waste. I was in the 2020 Boston cohort of MassChallenge, and I am a gold winner.
Okay, I guess I'm up next. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. My name is Sharonda White. I was a MassChallenge Boston 2020 Silver Award winner and also the winner of the Quinn Impact Award. I'm founder and CEO of Cause.edu, which is a platform that is working to democratize the college financial planning process. And what we do is we bring together financial advisors, college admissions counselors, tax advisors, and other experts onto one platform. We charge families one low annual fee, and we help them figure out the entire process. We save families on average over $10,000 in the cost of a college degree.
Hello, good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you may be across the globe. I'm Anthony Gant, the founder and CEO of At Ease, and I created the company for military and federal employees that are traveling for work or relocation and need a temporary location to stay while they're out of a home in that due process. So we help find transient locations for both the short-term, mid-term, and long-term stays, everything under a year lease. I was a part of the MassChallenge Austin cohort, and I'm a 2020 Gold Award winner as well.
Hey everyone, I am Wendy Moore. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Helium. So Helium is a training tool for human performance. It quickly improves your calm and your focus in as little as 4 minutes, and it's powered by your body's electricity. So it's harnessing the power of consumer data coming from wearables, and it's really helping in the middle of what we're calling the stress Olympics right now. So after the pandemic, not everybody has trained for this, and stress is a huge issue across the world. So we're just helping people learn how to control that stress, and not only control it, but actually harness it and build mental resilience. So we have clinically validated augmented and virtual reality products. We're on the market right now, and you can actually power that with the data coming from your wearables, so with your heart rate or your brain waves. So we're Helium, we're human performance in a new reality. We were part of the MassChallenge Houston 2020 cohort, and we were the gold winners.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. We don't have a lot of time for discussion, so I'm going to try to get through some great questions. But if you, as the viewers, have your own questions, please drop them in the Q&A. We'll try to get to that as soon as we can. If you have a question for a specific person, it would be nice if you drop their name with it as well, so we can direct it accordingly. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. What I really want to know, and I know we're probably all sick of talking about the word everyone's overused, unprecedented, right? 2020 was just in so many different ways really unprecedented. So I know a lot of things have had to change. We're running a business, for balancing a family, all of the things. We at MassChallenge also had to shift gears very quickly going into the 2020 program that's normally still a hybrid accelerator in which we require some people on site, but also you can learn as you go. But it was the first time going completely virtual, as most of the world had to go completely virtual. Your living room became your office, all of those things. So a short amount of time to make a lot of changes. I want to know what you had to change in terms of strategy, if things during 2020 made you pivot, what you kind of thought about the direction of your business and what you had to pivot. I'm going to go ahead and let Sharonda kick this off if you want to answer that for me, and then we can have maybe another person tag along.
Yeah, great. So Cause EDU actually started as a crowdfunding platform for students, for helping students raise money for last minute expenses for college. And when the pandemic hit, we actually were right at the very beginning of a pivot. We switched to more of college financial planning, helping families determine how much college actually costs and developing sound strategies to pay for it. So that way they don't end up having the challenges that they have later on financially. And we were planning to launch our online platform in March of 2020. We actually ended up launching about 2 hours before Harvard University announced that they were shutting down and sending all of their students home, and then MIT at the end of the day, and then other schools across the country that week and the next week. And then literally everything came to a halt. And all of our, the contracts and the things that we had that were kind of in the works or that had already been signed were pretty much canceled at that point. And so we initially had a B2C strategy where we were planning on going directly to customers, and it didn't work out because the reality is parents are now homeschooling in addition to working from home, in addition to everything else that's going on, and they just weren't making the work that we do a priority. And so at that point, we had to really do not hard pivot, we had to pivot though, and focus more on a B2B strategy, because schools, while they were shutting down and sending students home, they still needed to be able in some way to help their families with guidance counselor type college financial planning. And so our strategy shifted. And when we started MassChallenge, we were pretty much in that phase of, we know what we need to do, we don't know how to do it. And so we were able to secure mentors who were a branding strategist who was absolutely phenomenal, a mentor who focuses on partnerships, and they really helped us to understand what we needed to do to get to where we wanted to be.
Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in with a major pivot or something strategy-wise they had to change completely? Wendy?
Yeah, I could probably add to that. We had kind of an opposite pivot. And so we historically have always been B2B or B2B2C. We started in the enterprise space, a lot of healthcare, a lot of corporate wellness. And so as you can imagine, when the pandemic hit, healthcare went into crisis mode, corporations went into crisis mode. Nobody was going to talk about adding in a new wellness product. And so even though it was needed more than ever, we certainly had to start selling in a different way. So it was going through the MassChallenge program at the same time. We had access to all these incredible mentors, incredible resources that helped us work through that. We always had a consumer play in the future. We just accelerated it quite a bit. So it wasn't a full pivot, but it was definitely an acceleration of a plan. And it really helped us because it strengthened our direct-to-consumer. We always had that. And we were reaching people there in their homes, or even if we were routing through the corporate wellness or the healthcare track, we were selling to them, but we were still addressing this could serve your people when they're home, in the office, or in that weird transition back and forth, which is where a lot of us have been living in between. So it was very well timed to have that type of resource available in the middle of unprecedented times. But it also helped us really scope out, who is our customer, who's buying it. So kind of the opposite reaction, but very same problem on very quick turnaround.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we've officially hit our quota of saying unprecedented. So we're done. No more dropping that word. So you both kind of hit on utilizing resources that were available. So I want to ask about what resources and other benefits that you guys found most valuable, if it pertaining to either going virtual or just from the program itself. So benefits and resources that you found the most advantageous.
I'll take this one if I may.
Perfect. And then we'll
For
follow.
the benefits that I found overall from the program was the ability to, like everyone has said so far, is to access the different mentors and the resources. You showed that list of credits and partners that you have. You don't realize how beneficial that is until you go to one of the sites and it's like, you have to pay X amount of dollars. And then you were like, wait. I think MassChallenge has a partnership with them. Like for me, it was Airtable. And I was like, ching, ching, credit from Airtable. Then after I got that first Airtable credit, I was like, let me see what other credits I can use from this opportunity. And I just went, you got a credit, you got a credit, you got a credit. So I was able to go through so many of them and benefit, like AWS, right? First, I was just on one hosting platform. Then once I saw AWS, I was like, I've been wanting to switch to AWS all this time. Now I can, and I got a credit for it. So that was the overall benefit from like being a part of the MassChallenge cohort and program. And then virtually, initially I was worried and like, man, I wish I could go to Houston. I wish I could go to Boston and do all of these things. And then it's like, people call it COVID. I call it Thanos. It's like he did like this and we were all inside. So once Ender games came through and Thanos snapped his finger and we were virtual, it was like, but yay, because now I can go to all of the programs across the entire globe. And what our team did is we pulled in the entire schedule for every single MassChallenge cohort. And we was like, we don't want to go to this in Austin because that doesn't make anything, because we're not CPG. We're not making no peanuts or brownies or anything. But we do want to see what this is in Boston, or we want to go to Switzerland and see what this is. And we adjusted our time and our schedule to go to different programs from different MassChallenge cohorts, which was amazing.
I'll tag on to that last portion. Of course, the resource bank was huge. So Anthony's spot on there, but I'll say that the ability, I think as we were thinking, we're the first virtual cohort to experience MassChallenge, it turned out to be a complete win for our team in the sense that we were able to attend. We were able to talk to NASA one day, and within a few hours, we were sitting still with Autodesk. And honestly, those meetings wouldn't have been as easy or seamless had we been in person, because we would have been booking flights, or we would have been considering, that doesn't really make sense for us because we're in Boston at the moment. So this virtual aspect has been such a big win from the MassChallenge perspective, because we had access to a ton of experts, not just, we'll link you up via email, but they came to talk to us and really talk through what their passions were. And I don't think all of the experts that we were able to talk to would have been available had they all been required to come to Boston. Actually, I know for a fact they wouldn't have been. A few of them mentioned it. So I think being able to really look at the wins was something that we realized early on in this virtual environment. The second component I think of is, as far as resources go, we had the best mentors, and one of our mentors is actually on our advisory board now. And he came out of Houston, and we wouldn't have had him as a mentor because we were in the Boston cohort, had we been in person. I would never have met Corey. The second component, to Sharonda's point earlier, I'll say that we did have experts in the areas. It was mentioned earlier by Ren that there's this focus and access experts and support. Those are the pillars of MassChallenge. And there really was a focus on goal setting. So our focus was around how to change our operations. We were able to find experts there, how to really look at changing our tech a bit, because we were pivoting at that time, and we were able to find those experts. We're currently Autodesk residents because we are manufacturers, and that came as a result of MassChallenge. MassChallenge connected us to the Autodesk program, and they've been extremely helpful as we look at creating our new product. So from a resource perspective, there are a ton of resources that we did garner as a result of the program. But then when we talk about the virtual environment, I must also add that we do have a number of ways in which we've learned to really maximize some of the pieces that were in the resource bank. One being DocSend was something it was new to me. So being able to understand what people really like about our pitch or what people are really staying focused on was important. Another aspect is just being able to pivot to this Zoom land and pitching here. MassChallenge actually spent the time to ensure that we took that opportunity. So there are a ton of resources to hone in on here.
Awesome. Thank you. We are continuously building out that resource bank. It's the closest I will ever feel to being Oprah, handing out, as Anthony said, you get a deal, you get a deal, you get a deal. It's awesome. We want to have as many opportunities because different companies need different things, right? Depending on where you're at. I want to talk about partnerships a little bit. So part of that also is we have connected with some other organizations within our industry tracks, but also that also want to have access to like some of these brilliant ideas. Wendy, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you guys made a lot of partnerships while you were with MassChallenge. If you could hit on that, kind of what happened, how that access kind of steered your company.
Yeah, definitely. And we're honestly still reaping the benefits of that and will be for years to come because that initial step, and now we're still working through a lot of those partnerships. The first one comes to mind. I mean, we actually gained 2 board members through MassChallenge connections. One came on as our executive board chair. He also serves as our chief medical officer. Like that was a massive win for us, and has also unlocked a lot of funding opportunities for our new round. And so that was just a incredible strategic connection we made. We also just gained a phase 1 SBIR with the U.S. Air Force. That was directly in result to getting connected with a government contractor through MassChallenge. And so we're working through that, have I-line to a phase 2. That's huge for us. So we're starting that in 2 weeks. So very exciting. We have had great FaceTime with various portions of the NASA connections and partnerships and working through how we can apply helium in those spaces, the stress management of astronauts. So it's literally just, out of this world. It's crazy. So it's just such exciting opportunities for a group like us. And all in, it was also direct revenue. I mean, we more than exceeded $100,000 in direct response to the program. And then all of these different kinds of partnerships are going to lead to even greater things. So just from those strategic connections, check back with me in a year and I'll have much bigger numbers for you because it's all really just growing and accumulating. So we can't say enough good things about the partnership opportunities.
Awesome. Any other specific examples of connections or partnerships you guys have made via MassChallenge? Via mentors or any of our partnership bank, Anthony?
Yes, we've, like Wendy said, we've been able to leverage a couple of different partnerships where we're going to be able to work with each other and have the similar verticals in our space. We were able to get connections from other cohort members that, like, hey, I used to work for that big property management company that has over 40,000 listings in the US. Let me connect you with them. So working on conversations with them and see what it looks like for us to work with them and integrate. And then, like Wendy said, talking to the Air Force and talking to the different DoD players that have a need for certain products, but they don't know what their need is. And then just having MassChallenge in a different cohorts to say, hey, I have this, I have that, I have that. And they are able to go out and say, oh, that's what I needed, but I didn't know how to ask for it. And getting those phase 1 small business innovation and research contracts and going on to the next phases, which can lock you in for a long-term DoD contract.
Awesome. And you kind of hit on this a little bit, talking about having access to other founders, right? Like having access to other people that, one, are kind of going through the same thing, but also could have other resources or can open other doors, or just be peer support that can commiserate with how difficult it is to run a business. So Sharonda, can you talk a little bit about that process, like having access to other founders, what you liked about being in a cohort?
Yeah. Well, so I guess for me, there were kind of 2 aspects to that. The first is that for CAUSE EDU, we have we have a leadership team of 3, and we're in different states. So I'm in Boston, our CTO is in Dallas, Texas, and our chief partnerships officer is in Atlanta. And so with MassChallenge, because it was virtual, this was the first time that all 3 of us were actually able to do an accelerator. Accelerators in the past, if they were in person, it would just be me. So we would just do the Boston one. They would call in or Zoom in for the events where that was a possibility. But for the most part, it was just me. And so having an accelerator that was virtual, where we were all able to come in, number one, it made things easier for us in terms of doling out responsibilities. So let's say there's a session that has to do with just tech. Either the CTO and I will both be on, or just the CTO would be on. If there's a session that has to do with partnerships, the chief partnerships officer and I would be on. And so it just made it so much easier for us to be able to both be in a session, or all 3 of us be in a session, and to share ideas, to share notes, and to really talk things through, versus it just being me going to everything. And so I think that was definitely one of the benefits of it being virtual. But then the other part of that was that the wolf packs, I was in the ed tech wolf pack. And so there were, I think it might have been 6 startups in that wolf pack. And we were able to just share ideas, share experiences, share resources, suggest partnerships. And so that was very helpful for us in terms of really collaborating with founders of other ed tech companies, and then even meeting founders of other, even non-ed tech companies within the other types of sessions that we were doing, especially the networking sessions.
Great. Anybody else want to add to that? Any connections to other founders?
Rhonda hit it on the head with the wolf pack. Not only was it connections, but it was a place to vent and be vulnerable, because as a founder and a team that's founding something, you're very lonely. You're on the island, and no, not the Virgin Island where it's nice and fun and sun. It's like one of those treacherous islands where you have Wilson with you and you're like, Wilson. Sorry for all the movie references. But you were able to exhale by talking to the wolf pack and say, I am struggling with this. I am having such a difficult time with this. What do you guys got? And sometimes you presented an idea and they'll tell you it was stupid, and sometimes you need to hear that, so that you don't go out and spend a lot of money on something that was stupid. So the wolf packs were of a great benefit.
The wolf pack was like startup therapy. I mean, that's pretty much what I considered it to a certain extent.
I completely agree with what they both said. And we just celebrated the wins and the losses all together. And so it's just that camaraderie, right? You build your startup family, and we spread a couple continents too. So it's great to make connections in totally different industries, totally different areas throughout the program. And then, yeah, the therapy side.
Awesome. Something obviously that has bubbled up to the surface from 2020, like we as humans don't do well alone. So we were trying to find as many ways as we could to make sure those connections were still happening. It's different than being in a room and high-fiving somebody, or having some kind of, I don't know, serendipitous meeting in a hallway, but figuring out ways to make those connections is important. And we will continue as MassChallenge to highlight what worked really well in the last year's virtual setting, and continue to try to figure out ways to make sure you as a founder don't feel alone and feel supported, and have a place to, again, vent or test out your good and bad ideas. So I want to talk a little bit about the application. I know there's a lot of anxiety around pitching via Zoom. So any advice you can have to the prospective founders that are watching today, be either getting a good application in and or pitching via a screen?
I'll start for this one, and I'll start off with, from my experience, I thoroughly enjoy pitching via Zoom now, I have to admit. Now, that's not everyone's experience, I understand that, but a couple things that I have to hone in on, being yourself, still being authentic. I feel like some people feel like it's an opportunity to potentially read, or even if you use a teleprompter, ensure that you know it. but that's what I'll really get to. So during the application process and beyond, just make sure that you take it as seriously as if you were pitching in person. I know some people stand during their pitches or stand whenever they have a meeting on Zoom just because they feel like it's more authentic in some way, whatever works for you. But I think that this Zoom opportunity gives you an opportunity to actually practice in real time. In person, you don't know the placement of the people that are going to be there. If you know there are going to be 6 judges, MassChallenge does a great job of telling you what to expect on your pitch day, whether it's for the application process or in any of the prize steps that we went through. So just being able to ensure that you use that time to practice and stay true to what essentially it will look like at the run of show, you'll knock it out.
Great. Thank you so much. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Anthony?
Sharonda was first.
Yep, Sharonda, please.
I also want to say just very quickly, when it comes to the application process, make sure you have someone else read your applications before you submit. Because I know for us, first of all, this was not our first time applying to MassChallenge, which is the other thing. If you don't get in, try again. And if you don't get in, try again. This is actually our 3rd time applying. So the first time we didn't make it past the first round. Second time we were in the semifinals, and then 3rd time we got in. And so the feedback that I ended up getting later on was that our application, the one that we did online and submitted, they couldn't tell that we were as far along as we actually were in terms of the work that we had done and where the company was. And so definitely have someone read your application, tell you what they got from what you wrote, someone who's in the industry and someone who's not. Someone who understands, the actual jargon and someone who is just complete layman's terms, just doesn't understand the technical stuff. Have them give you feedback, because that's what's going to really help you in terms of knowing what's getting across and what's not getting across.
No, that's a great advice from both of the ladies. 1, be yourself, be authentic, and then 2, have someone read it, and then practice. I was fortunate that I have a good friend in Austin, Shady. She went through Austin MassChallenge cohort a year prior, and I also submitted 3 times and got in on the 3rd try. So continue to submit your application, and you can't stress how much you have to have someone else give you some input and feedback prior to going in and submitting the application, because they'll catch things that you can't see because you have the founders blockers on, where you just don't see where you're messing up or not selling yourself like you should be, or saying what you should have said in the application. And then if you have the opportunity, you've applied before, go back to the site and look for the judges' notes and the feedback that they give you, because that's what helped me. I was like, oh, I totally have that, but I didn't say it. And that feedback was what helped me and our team prepare for the application when we finally got accepted into it.
That's a great, several great notes. 1, yes, keep applying. And if you also aren't eligible for cash prizes at the end, you can actually come back, and so to a different location or to do the program again. So that's also awesome if it fits within the business cycle that you're going through. And as Anthony mentioned, we require all of our judges to provide written feedback in each stage of the judging process. So as early as the online overview when they're looking at applications, all the way to the final judging round for the cash prizes. And so I do think it's advantageous to look through that and see, and there might be an outlier here or there, but if there's a trend, maybe it's something you should be paying attention to. So we have a few minutes left before we jump into Q&A. I just want to know, what moves have you guys made since you've left MassChallenge? If you have plans for the future, where are you guys at now? And we can just, I want to hit everybody. So we can go in the order that you introduced yourselves at the beginning, if that's okay.
Okay, I'll say that I'm hoping to assist in the future with MassChallenge. And second component is just, we're current Echoing Green Fellows for LUWorks, but we're on the ground in the middle of our factory build. So we'll be manufacturing by the end of the year. And then I also mentor in other spaces. I'm going to add another note and say, I'm going to tag on to the responses that came through as far as having other people hone in on your application. I'm not going to overcommit everyone on this panel, but I would suggest reaching out to previous MassChallenge alums. Reach out to folks because they are traditionally willing to help you. So whether you know them or not, you might have 4 right here. But just definitely reach out to folks. You have LinkedIn, you have opportunities, so use those.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in terms of where we are now with CAUSE.edu, so this is, well, we're in the end of March, so we're nearing the end of the school semester, the school year. And so wrapping up with an Upper Bound Trio program that's based in Atlanta in terms of the college financial planning and whatnot. We are in the process of working with students who didn't exactly listen to our advice the first time around. And so we're helping them fix what's wrong, which is always, this is always the fun part. You know, the families that listen are taken care of, everything's fine by now. And then those that don't are coming to us asking for help to fix everything. And so that's kind of where we are now with our busy season, but also working on securing or finalizing, I should say, partnerships for the fall semester for next year with schools and then also education organizations in Boston and Atlanta. That's where we're working with organizations now, really focused on national, but that's where they're coming from right now, is those 2 states. And so that's where we are now, just getting ready for the fall and wrapping up for the spring semester.
We are on the verge of launching a brand new site, version 3, I believe, or 4, which will help us increase our throughput with both our B2B side and B2C side. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll be making some announcements about some key partnerships, like I said, that came out of MassChallenge. Right now in the background, talking with their marketing team and our marketing team, which is me, on how we want that to look and how we want it to go out and where we want to post it. And the next step says we got picked up into another accelerator out of Alabama that's specifically for our space, that is helping us make the connections that we need to also increase our throughput and our revenues. So all of that was a de facto of going through MassChallenge and knowing what to say, what to ask for, and how to present it.
I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, because of the MassChallenge and winning the Quinn Impact Award, I'm also an entrepreneur in residence at the Quinn, and so things are picking back up with that as well. I forgot to mention that, but that's happening right now too.
Awesome.
That's huge. That's all awesome stuff. We are in the middle of growing our consumer products, so we are launching some really exciting stuff. We came out on Oculus Quest 1 and 2 just very recently, where we moved on to the Pico headset. Again, in the VR space, these are all new iterations of the headset and working across the lot directly to consumer. Our new augmented reality app comes out any day now. It's literally pending approval on the App Store, so watch for that in the next couple weeks. And we have really leaned into a lot of our great first responder frontline healthcare worker initiatives. We just wrapped a great trial with a large pharma company that we'll be able to announce the results of, showing the incredible impact we can have on stress for frontline healthcare workers, quickly reducing that anxiety and the impacts of what they've been going through with the COVID pandemic, and then with their day-to-day job as well. So we're planning to use that to really lean into the other just really high stress occupations. And that'll also help us with the work we're doing with the military I mentioned earlier. So we have a lot moving both in our enterprise space and our direct-to-consumer space that we're really excited about. And so much of that has been directly result of the way we grew in MassChallenge, and they helped us make those changes and make those really strategic decisions. So I'm excited.
Awesome. That's so great to hear. Congrats all. We love hearing from alumni on wins. We have a marketing channels too that you can submit things, and we want to be a mouthpiece out into our ecosystem on what you guys are doing even after you leave our doors, our virtual doors. So we love that, and we love making sure, as Samara said, like keep getting involved as alumni as well. We have now over 2,500 alumni, so it's really great to see what you guys are doing when you leave. We are going to jump into Q&A. There's a lot, so please keep them coming. We're trying to answer some live that you can peruse through, but I also want to call out a few. Of course, we talked a lot about the good things about MassChallenge and the great wins you guys have had, but not to say there hasn't obviously been challenges in the last year as well. So can anyone talk about the challenges that you were facing while going through the program, or something that's specific to the organization of being virtual, or something that you want to hit on? I think that's the question. Yes. What would be organized differently, and then what were some of the challenges?
If you are coming on with a team or someone that you're expecting that you want to bring on as a co-founder, because I saw a question in QA talking about, can I join if I don't have a business? I want to be a co-founder. I think Sharonda pointed this out, with all three people being in different places. They had a plan on how they can dissect it and attack different things. We didn't. And now the person who I was thinking about bringing on as a co-founder is no longer with me. And that was primarily because I was getting upset that we weren't divided and conquering, on a different paths, and setting up meetings with different mentors. It was like, I've got a mentor and you're piggybacking off the meeting that I have with the mentor. I'm like, no, go get the COOs, go find COOs to talk to. So I think that was a learned lesson the hard way, is, hey, get your team together and say, hey, this is what we'll do together. This is what we'll do disjointed, because we all have paths that we need to grow on or grow from, and that will help the team accelerate much farther and leverage the resources of MassChallenge and the mentors and all of the opportunities that it offers. But if everyone's trying to do everything at the same time all together, you just wasted a huge opportunity.
I think to piggyback off of that, like I said before, we have a leadership team of 3. We have others who are doing other work, but in terms of our leadership team, there are 3. And we have, just between the 3 of us, we had a lot of personal challenges during MassChallenge. And one thing that I realized, I had been, as the CEO, it's like I make sure that I know at least a little bit about everything, just because if anyone has ever, and I know it's like a bad analogy, but someone walks out today and gets hit by a bus. Obviously, you don't want the world to stop or the company to stop just because of that, right? So you need to know how to make sure everything is taken care of. But what hadn't crossed my mind was, what if something happens to me? What if I'm not available for whatever reason? Making sure that everything that I know, there's somebody who knows how to do each piece of it. And that was not the case. And so I had a personal situation, a challenge that came up where I should not have pitched for our final pitch. There was a lot going on. I was just flying back to Boston the night before the pitch because of a family emergency, and the co-founders couldn't pitch for me. They just didn't know how to. Our chief partnerships officer had, she had practiced a lot, but she just didn't feel comfortable with it. And so I ended up having to pitch anyway. And so I think just the challenge of, because everything is fast paced, MassChallenge is an accelerator. There's a lot going on in a short amount of time. And you're also running your business while also doing MassChallenge, while also, whether it's having a family, a personal life, or whatever. I think to a certain extent will magnify whatever underlying challenges there might be and whatever hasn't been dealt with. And so for us, it was really coming to terms with the fact that there should not be anything at all that only one person knows how to do, regardless of who that one person is. And so that was the challenge that we had.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Samara, did you want to add one more thing?
One more thing. I'll say that even just having a plan, even as a single founder, of what you are aiming to tackle during MassChallenge, because when you have this smorgasbord, you want to be able to hone in on what is important for you at this time and what might you reference later, because a lot of the resources are available later. A lot of the calls, the recordings are available. You don't have to do it all right now, because you will get burned out if you do try to tackle everything at once. Personally, I wasn't able to attach to my wolf pack because I had a standing either board meeting, something during that time. And because it was the first time, I think it was difficult to get me in another one for some reason. But I will say this, that for me, it wasn't necessarily the piece I needed then, so I didn't push it. So anything, so it's not a Mass Challenge fail, it's a similar fail if I didn't, get a result. But I'll definitely say that make sure that you go in with a list of the things you're trying to achieve, see what really aligns to that, and go back to your focus again and again, because you can get caught up in other great things happening.
Great, thank you. A lot of questions about what stage a company needs to be in before submitting an application. We say early stage, which, if you ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different answers on what that means. Just from a Mass Challenges perspective, as again, anything under those two thresholds we mentioned, $1 million in funding or $2 million in sales is what we consider early stage. If you aren't able to fill out the application in terms of your team or your product or things like that, you're probably too early if you can't fill out all of the answers, if that makes sense. So I would recommend to everybody to go through that process, open the application, start answering it. If you can answer it to the best of your ability, then hit apply, because again, you're going to get that feedback regardless, which is great. And that those judges might be able to tell you if you're not quite far along and what you can focus on to make your application stronger. But we do take a very wide range of startups. And so when you apply, and then when you get into the second round of judging, we ask the judges what stage they think the startup is in. We have developed kind of we call it the 4Ds. It's like development, deployment, things like that, where they're at. And we also ask the startups to self-identify where they think they're at. Sometimes they line up, sometimes they don't, which I think is a good learning process for the startups to say, oh, I thought I was ready for that, maybe I'm not. And then of course, throughout the Accelerator, we're helping those startups to get to that next stage. So I do want to do a quick round robin, maybe with what stage you were at when you applied to Mass Challenge, to maybe ease some nerves of potential applicants. If anybody wants to share where they thought they were, or when they thought they were prepared to actually fill out the application. Anybody want to jump in?
Can you remind everyone what the stages are, just so that the audience?
Yeah, so it's like development, you're still developing the idea, and then all the way to deployment, where you have products in market. Of course, you put me on the spot, so now I'm like, what are the two other Ds?
That's why we're all quiet.
Distribution is the last one. That's right. And don't worry about the 4Ds, but when did you feel prepared to enter Accelerator, I guess, is really the most general question. When you were ready to actually accelerate your business. What did you have? What kind of ducks did you have in a row?
So we actually thought we were at the second D, but then the feedback that we got was that we were at the third. So I thought that was really interesting, which I guess goes to us thinking that we weren't where we wanted to be, and they were kind of looking at where we were versus us comparing where we were to where we wanted to be. I don't know. Either way, we thought we were at the second level. They thought we were at the third. But really, we already had a product. We'd already launched. We launched the company in 2017 with our crowdfunding platform. We launched the financial education platform in March 2020. So at the time that we applied, we already had some customers because we'd done our customer interview phase. We had brought on like around 100 or so users at that point, which isn't, that's not anywhere near where we wanted to be. But we had a little over 100 users, and we were looking at potential partnerships. We had started conversations, but we hadn't actually had any contracts for partnerships signed. We just were working on smaller scale. Well, that's not true. We had small scale partnerships signed, but not the larger ones that we were looking for. And so we had some revenue, but not a lot. And we had some users, but not the tens of thousands that we wanted.
I think I'll say that we definitely had gone through discovery and had done a prototype. So we were in our minds in that development phase. Like Sharonda, we thought we were not quite as far along as we wanted to be, but were told that, you know, we were more developed. So I will say that we became operational in 2017, and we started off just delivering toilets to households and building on site. And down the line, we saw that there was a huge supply issue in our market and across West Africa. So that's what forced us to pivot into manufacturing. So at this point during our MassChallenge time, we were able to use that time to go back to customer discovery, because we were selling on larger scales, thousands as opposed to unit by unit, and able to really look at how to re-engage or place ourselves in a different position in the sanitation value chain. So I think you could be at any stage, and MassChallenge could definitely be helpful.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Well, so I think we did the kind of the opposite, like a similar cadence. I think we came in saying we were deployment, and thanks, Ren, for the cheat sheet, because I was like, what are these Ds again?
I needed it for myself.
When we should have been in distribution. So we were kind of in that 4D stage. We already had a product on the market, certainly not perfect, but it's on the market, sellable. We had customers in both spaces we were working, both enterprise and consumer. So we did have a little bit more traction than what we were giving ourselves credit for when we did the application. But that was a great, I think it was a point of feedback we did in one of the phases of the application. That was what we got back. They're like, hey, you're not actually taking into account what you've done already that places you ahead. So when we did our wolf pack, we were actually a little bit farther ahead of a lot of people that were in the program next to us, but that was mutually beneficial because we were a little bit younger in the consumer space. So some of them were farther ahead in that space for us. And then in the enterprise space, we were a little bit farther ahead. We had some partnerships established, and we had some good, we've gone through POCs, we've gone through some pilots with some good partners. So we had some wisdom to share, and then a lot to learn as well from our wolf pack, just from being in different stages.
Awesome. So I'll summarize all of that and when my brain started working. So we will take companies from discovery stage, which again is a little bit further, not just a kind of an idea written on a napkin, but you know you figured out a business model of moving forward. And keep in mind too, to everyone listening, you're going to have to pitch this eventually. So if you can pitch your idea and pitch where you think it's going, then that would be the discovery model. You're still pre-revenue, financing, but the judges will be able to see like, wow, there's a really concrete idea there, and we think MassChallenge will be really successful in helping them, get to the next stage, which is development, still validating that product, still validating that service, looking into maybe piloting, maybe there's some revenue there, to deployment where the business model has been validated. You're looking for repeat customers, things like that. Focus on growing that customer base, and then distribution. You're ready to scale, and you want to, you're looking for that fast-paced growth. So quite the range. We this year for 2021 will have some affinity groups set up virtually that you can be get in contact with other startups at that stage that wouldn't necessarily be in your industry or anything like that. So some hyper-focused curriculum and guidance on where in those 4Ds that you lay, which would be great, because then it's like, what is everyone else doing to get to that next level? So great question and great review for myself as we launch this new program. Let's see, still lots of questions. We have a few minutes left. Some people are asking about participation in other accelerators or other programs. What about MassChallenge is unique? If you have any anything to say about that, you can pretend I'm not listening. You can say other ones or something that you liked somewhere else. But what about MassChallenge maybe was a unique offering you thought?
So I did Div Inc. Out of Austin, which is now in Houston as well, prior to going to MassChallenge. And I love Div Inc. Very family oriented. And they were like, we're the pre-accelerated to MassChallenge. A lot of our cohorts get into MassChallenge. So I was like, I'm going to apply. And that did help me. That's what we said, have other people look at your application. But the unique differences that I saw were the Vink had their set of mentors and their curriculum. That 4Ds that we just talked about was a little bit different. So I was able to take what I learned out of Vink and expand on it with the things that I learned from MassChallenge. Like I said, being virtual, and you heard it from a couple of us, it allowed us to go to different programs that are a part of the MassChallenge family. So you can specifically go to things that are specific to what you need and what you're trying to accomplish. And then the mentor pool was a little bit larger too. I could filter out from the Accelerator website what type of mentor or what type of specialist I needed at a particular time that I couldn't do in previous accelerators. It was usually the folks that were a part of what they're doing. So I was like, if I need some marketing, I was able to go through filter marketing. I wanted to find someone in Texas. I found someone at Georgetown, just in case I wanted to go and pick up coffee. And then I was like, I needed to talk to someone who was technically smart, and I want to find someone who's from MIT or something like that. And I was able to go to the Boston cohorts and just start pulling out like that. So the differences that I experienced from this one to others was the vast majority of mentors that were available, as well as the different locations that you can piggyback off of. And then the founders from different locations, because I was reaching out to founders in multiple locations in the Slack channels as well to talk about different things. So the community was much larger than you would probably get in most accelerators that I think was very beneficial.
Awesome.
I think that MassChallenge's size is a definite advantage. One thing that I saw was, yes, MassChallenge is industry agnostic, but as Anthony mentioned, they have not verticals, but they have sessions that are specific to certain industries. And so you can opt into those sessions. And so even though the main sessions are industry agnostic, even though you can have mentors that are either industry agnostic or specific to your industry, you can do it however you want to in terms of the mentor matching. But when they have these additional sessions, like if you're looking at a smaller accelerator, for instance, or an accelerator that's more niche, they're not going to have all those different options. So they might have a session that is more, for tech companies, a session that is more for companies in the health sector, a session that's more for companies in, whatever the other industry is. And so I think that that is a benefit that you're not going to get from a smaller accelerator where maybe they only have 20 startups. They're not going to have all of these different types of sessions because they don't have startups in all those different types of industries.
Awesome. And you guys both hit on a few notes that I want to kind of re-summarize and maybe answer a couple questions also. So you do have access to the entire mentor pool for all of early stage. So not just Houston or just Rhode Island. It is an online proprietary system you'll have access to that you can like Anthony said, go search something specific. And so there is a little bit of a choose your own adventure to MassChallenge. You can get there and start digging around and make those connections. We also host a mentor matching event this year, or last year it was virtual. So a little bit different than, having drinks in a room. So a lot different. We did some randomized networking where you pop into a room with somebody and see if it's a good fit or not. For 2021, we are trying to look at some surveys and some questionnaires with our mentor pool to see if we can maybe provide a pre-list to startups. And so we think based on, your entry form or intake survey of where your goals are, what you're looking for, we're going to try to see if we can kind of come up with a list of maybe some pointed mentors that we think you should reach out to. So we're playing around with different ways to connect people, but there is no barrier for you to reach out to mentors. And in fact, we had a lot of our startups, connect with a Switzerland mentor or someone like that, or in Israel where there's a really high tech scene. So that might be a pool that you want to tap into, and that's awesome. We can help make those connections for you. And that's totally part of the what we want to do is have this global connection. All businesses are going global these days, regardless, because of, I think the pandemic highlighted that immensely. Now that we're online, we can make those connections fairly easily. Anthony mentioned DivInc. A couple people have mentioned in the Q&A about diversity, asked about our diversity kind of things, commenting that even the panelists seem diverse. It's, one of those things that everyone is talking about, and we as MassChallenge have really looked to see what we are actually doing to make sure underrepresented founders are being have access to the program. And so we partner with a lot of other programs like DivInc and things like that to make sure to encourage founders that traditionally haven't gotten access to programs have access. And we also are looking at our judging pool to make sure there's a certain level of diversity there. So we're talking about underrepresented, we're talking about women, all different experience levels. We're talking about all different ways that we can make these panels diverse, but we also want to make sure that our cohorts are also diverse. Happy to talk about anything specifically like that offline. So I can drop my email in the chat. It's something that we're passionate about at MassChallenge, eliminating all types of barriers, but I know that's a big one. So we're excited about that and where the future lies in that as well. I think we are almost at time for the Q&A. We need to wrap up. I want to thank everybody on the panel. Thank you so much. I feel like this conversation could have kept going. And they have offered their services, to help with anybody that's watching, or they've kind of offered their services. I'm reoffering their attention to maybe an application or Q&A. So please reach out. We want to see everyone succeed. And so if you have an itching question about maybe someone's company specifically, we have an online database of our portfolio, we call it, at MassChallenge. You can look them up and see what they're up to. Please follow them, social media, all those things. Let's help each other out. But thank you so much. You guys did a fantastic job. Thank you for your time. And I, on a personal level, hope to stay in touch as well. So we're going to wrap up with a few additional notes because we've had several of these Get to Know MassChallenge series, and we have, again, a week or so left that the application is still open. And so you can actually go to this website right here, masschallenge.org, Meet MC, and look at past episodes that we've had. So from idea to IPO, we had a AMA with our managing directors. And then we had another panel about how to build an awesome application. So if you're in that process right now, you might want to check that out. We're also on Clubhouse. We're doing info sessions. You can sign up for office hours, all of those things. I know I have 3 or 4 office hours booked for tomorrow. And so if you have any of those questions, or if we didn't get to your questions live, I'm going to stay a little bit later and try to type some of these in as well. Please book an office hour with one of our MassChallenge staff can help you. We want you to make sure you feel confident getting your application in and feel good about moving forward. So the next thing, again, final deadline, March 31, please use this code. It will take off the fee. Again, we don't want there to be any barrier to entry. So if you use MC21 events, you can get 100% off of your application fee, which is $99. So type that in, make sure that's not a barrier, again, to your participation. If you have questions, please go to the FAQ portion of our website. You can also send them to earlystage@masschallenge.org. Someone from our team will get back to you as soon as possible. Go ahead, set up your profile, set up your application fee, start it, look at the questions. I encourage you to get through it. And if you're thinking, I don't know, hit send. Again, you're going to get feedback on that application, which could be valuable. As Sharonda said, it took her 3 times to get into the program, and then she ended up winning a cash award at the end. So this might be the start to a longer process, but please get those applications in, and we would love to see you in the programs. So I think with that, I want to say thank you so much. Here's the link again. Thank you to our panelists one last time for participating. We're super excited about 2021, and thank you so much for attending.